The challenge, I guess, from a brand point of view is that it takes time. It takes time with prototyping and testing. And all this is very new and it's coming quite quick. I think where the issues will be from the footwear development will be that you'll need a shoe that does two things that can react to different conditions, because potentially it will be a dry field, potentially if it rains it will be a wet field. I would imagine that the piles, I don't know much about the actual surface yet. I imagine that the pile would be quite thin if it's based upon a carpet, so it's probably going to go with maybe a herringbone style cleat, very small cleats or something like that. Because we'll have to be careful and see for the feedback from the players as well with the grip point of view. So we've developed shoes for like a paddle, indoor paddle surface. That's a very thin pile, also very hard. But when you play, we did testing with hockey shoes on that, and there's just far too much grip in that situation. So that's something we're really going to have to put a lot of testing into, and time is not on our side. So we're going to have to move pretty fast. And then the last challenge I see, of course, is when I hear the quantity of pitches going down. It's going to take time. So you're talking about 5 or 10 pitches, maybe by 2 or 3 years. From a brand point of view, and to make it scalable, we need the mass obviously to come. Because so it looks like we'll have to have a few options of hybrid shoes to start out.
Yeah, because I think that the biggest challenge will be exactly that, is dealing with both a dry surface and a wet surface. And how do you are there already solutions for that, either Alistair or Colin?
I'll speak first. Yeah, from our side, so when we've been doing player testing, of course, and Alistair touched on this as well, it's a non-irrigated field, so it needs to perform in all the conditions that hockey is played in, whether it's wet or dry, hot or cold. So that's one of the things, which is why we did the outdoor pilot over a year ago. And from a footwear point of view specifically, we tried to make it, and this is a great thing about surface research. If you're developing most sports technology equipment, you're doing it for the individual. Whereas when we're developing a surface, we're doing it for the number of players, thousands of players that are using that particular facility. So that makes it quite a challenge to design to what the keeper wants and what the striker or the defender, whatever the position is required. So you're appreciating I don't know about hockey with my terminology there as well. Apologies. But what we did was we made sure that the players were wearing their current footwear that they're used to doing, because we wanted to try and make that transition as minimal as possible. But just to Stephen's point, there still will be some iterations that will be needed. We don't want it to be too much grip, because obviously that's dangerous, but also we don't want the grip to be too low when it's wet, because otherwise players are going to be falling over all the time. So there's going to be some development, and again, Stephen, we can talk about this, and we can send you samples and invite you to the site to support that as well. Very happy to do that. But hopefully the feedback so far is the majority of footwear has been designed to be thought of and included within the system. But inevitably, when players get onto a full-size field and get a bit more dynamic, we might identify some changes there that are needed. And any advice on footwear or other equipment will be very welcome.
Do you think that we are going to a situation where, again, we will need 2 pairs of shoes, Stephen?
I hope so.
Yeah, you do. I can imagine.
No, I mean, no. I think. Look, I think probably not. We'll probably be able to divide the capabilities of the shoe. I think if we just need to indeed get some time on the field. I think there's enough technology now in our product development that we'll be able to find something that will be able to work under both conditions. It does happen in the game today. Yeah? It does happen. We all know that when there's a dry field, for example, today, it's a problem. Especially from a footwear point of view, you get far too much grip and it becomes very dangerous for injuries. So that would be our biggest concern. But as I said, when we get some time on the field, we can really do some quick testing to find out. I know that A player like Jeroen will know immediately when you give him a pair of shoes when we're trying it out, and we take up a couple of different prototypes that will get some fast results. Our goal, of course, is to have the best products for the athletes, but we need about the minimum time is about 18 months to develop a product, because you have different phases. You're going to have your initial prototyping phase, and then you have to have time to get some feedback and test it. Then you go through a second prototyping, probably onto a third sample and a fourth. We usually do about minimum of four product runs. So you're probably talking about 24 months all in all. And then you have to develop the product itself. So it does take time. It does take time, but to be honest, it's very difficult to say until you get, like actually what Jeroen said was in my mind as well, with a full-on test on a full-on pitch, because until you get to that phase and then you get through your first two prototyping stages, then you can really start with opening molds and getting the product cycle running. The minimum is really 18 months, and it normally takes us 24 months for a new product, to be very honest.
Alistair, to come back to that as well, when will be the first moments that we can test these full pitches on a competitive level?
I think we would like, and we will organise, as I mentioned, we've already commissioned Loughborough University to help us, but we would want to get high performance athletes onto the second, third pitches that Colin is going to put into the Netherlands, and Polytan are putting them elsewhere with their versions, etc., etc. We fully accept that people are not going to convert their main stadium field or the number one field to new technology. That's reasonable, but we will need to arrange for players from the Dutch squad, the Belgian squad, the Australian squad, whoever it may be, to go to these venues to play on them. And we will need the assistance of the national associations, the high performance coaches, Adam and his colleagues around the world, to ensure that happens, because clearly their expectation is going to be very different to a typical community player, and we need that high level feedback.